My name is Rebecca Taylor. I'm the Director for Investment and Development for Long Harbour. For those of you who don't know who Long Harbour is, we're a long-term income fund, and we've been deploying capital in the build-to-rent sector since 2013. We've deployed about 400 million over the last couple of years with about 1,800 units under management and a good-looking pipeline going forward. So, over Christmas, I spent some time in Colombia on the Caribbean coast, and I didn't really know what to expect before going, and frankly, I hadn't had time to think about what was actually going to be there, other than looking forward to some sunshine, some music, some salsa, and maybe finding a pirate or two. Other than the pirates, it pretty much delivered, but what did surprise me was their approach to customer service, or to be honest, the lack thereof. And it was something that I realised that I have started to take for granted. We booked a driver one day to take us on a 6-hour journey up the coast, but we were slightly shocked when our driver advised that we'd need to cross 3 lanes of traffic, we'd have to climb over the concrete barrier, cross another 3 lanes of traffic, hail him down like a lady of the night, or with our luggage in tow. Our driver's rationale was, it's a long journey and he couldn't pick us up from the hotel just across the way because it would delay us. We were slightly astonished by this, and my girlfriends and I muted our confusion with the hotel staff, who were equally as confused, but not with the driver, but with us. But madam, they said, you're paying this man for his service, you need to do what he says. So it dawned on me as I was thinking about today's topic, best in class of customer service, that this approach to service in Colombia has really been how most people in the UK have been treated. You need a place to live? Sure, here you go. But you'd better pay your rent on time. Don't bother asking me to fix your tap or paint your walls. And remember, you're living under my roof, so it's my rules. When the PRS Forum first kicked off, the focus, as I recall, was how housing associations were best placed to deliver the sector. Then there was the wall of institutional investment. Then it was all about how much amenity space we had to deliver. And by the way, you'll get a premium for that, and all for the bargain basement cost of 25% net to gross. The focus of the conference today is all about the evolution of build-to-rent. And so whilst I think the evolution has been slightly around the wrong way, I'm pleased that we finally stopped referring to people as tenants or even as residents, but we are looking at people in our buildings as customers, and maybe even next year we'll start looking at those people as people and asking them how they want to live, what they want out of a home, and how we can offer them a new way of life. Some people in the room may be slightly cynical of this customer focus. However, my challenge is that we're actually all providing a service and we're all customers. How can I deliver the best returns to my investors? By keeping occupancy levels up, by being able to maximise the income but growing rents at a stable income, and maintaining an operating budget that supports this. We should be starting from the bottom up and not necessarily the top down. I think the scale for customer service has been further reinforced by the recent Brookfield and Oaktree/Seiko deal earlier this week in the service department sector, and something that we should be looking at. If we are to truly realise the potential for the sector, we have to start putting the customer first. We have a great panel for you guys today from across the sector, and I hope you join me in challenging them on the topic on how we can deliver a customer service that is best in class, not in building management or rent collection, but as new service providers for the future. So I'd like to introduce Faye Chester from Yardi. Faye is a consultant of real estate software systems with over 20 years' experience. Faye began her journey at Yardi in 2007, and her current position with Yardi, Faye plays a fundamental role in aiding clients across the UK, Ireland, and Europe. Russell Marco is the head of operations at TP Quintain. Joining in 2015, Russell is key in conveying and driving the TP ethos to all team members with the customer at the forefront. He has worked in hotel operations for Hilton and Radisson and has a focus on hospitality and making people happy. Stephanie Smith is the UK Portfolio Director for Atlas Residential and has over 2 decades of experience in the real estate and property management, operations and training. She has a vast experience in working with some of the largest players in the US multifamily sector and is a member of the UKAA Training Committee. And last but not least, Ian Murray, Managing Director of Live Consult. Ian comes from a facilities management and lifecycle background with a foundation in the PFI sector, having led Gardner and Theobald's FM business. His specialism in build-to-rent was bedded down at Criterion Capital, having established the MeFlats brand before joining Live Consult in 2016. So before we get into the discussion today with the panel, Ian's going to give a short presentation, I'm short,
Your introduction was meant to be short.
highlighting some of the examples of excellence in customer service. I was warned last night that Ian has a reputation for his presentation skills, so as Ian steps up, I advise you to all strap yourselves in. And if you've got a sensitivity to flash photography, you may need to turn away. Ian.
Thank you. This is getting to be
Am I
a
right in the
reputation
middle of it?
precedes me type of thing. So in the Build to Rent Forum in Edinburgh, we did 38 slides in 4.5 minutes. So today we're going to do 40 slides in about 4 minutes and 15 seconds. So let's go. Clicker, left, right. I'm going, I'm doing it. I do it. Oh, yeah, oh, we're past one. There we go. So if you search Google for customer service, what you get is that customer service is delivered with people who've got headsets with one microphone, because that's all the pictures that you get. However, if you look online and look for who is delivering customer service and it's been measured, the Telegraph recently published a whole list of who the best customer service businesses were, and Amazon right at the top. Has anybody heard of Utility Warehouse? I've never heard of them in my cream puff, so they must obviously have no customer service engagement whatsoever, which means that they get the highest score for not getting a bad score. And then people like Saga, I think it's laudable that they've managed to get so high up there, because they are definitely in a demographic that has some time in its hands to complain, and does. So, and it is no surprise to me that Waitrose and John Lewis and M&S are up there. However, Amazon, there is a book that tells you how to contact Amazon's customer service. You can buy this book on Amazon. So, and the best bit of it is that it says actually here something bonus inside. I'm presuming that's just the phone number, surely. So anyway, so what do? Do you promise customer service at the absolute lowest and then exceed it when you get to normality? Or do you promise the earth and then under-deliver? This is an important question, because you definitely don't want to get it wrong. What you want to get is the middle line. If you've ever heard of this company, this is a company that was started by a guy called Tony, who's he? And he is definitely held up to be one of the customer service gurus on the planet. He wrote this book, Powered by Service. If you've never bought the book, go and buy it tomorrow. It's amazing. And effectively what Zappos did was, they said if you went into a Zappos shop, which is a shoe shop, by the way, and you didn't get a pair of shoes that were right for you, but you had seen them somewhere else, they would physically go and take you to that other shop and help you buy them. And same online and all the rest of it. If they wanted to stay open so that you could stay, shoe shop for all night, they would do that too. And literally, if anything went wrong with Zappos, they would just replace it or change it. There was no quibbles about it at all. And in fact, if you're an Amazon Prime customer who bought Zappos, you pretty much get the same sort of deal from them. So whatever you're thinking, think bigger. You just have to be thinking as high up the chain as you possibly can. So where do you go if you want to find out who are the best customer service delivery businesses? The British Institute of Facilities Management, I used to be the chairman of that, has a customer service award that it awards every year. These are companies that have won it. It's interesting that there is no pattern to the companies that have won it. It's just the customer service within a certain time, and they've obviously applied. However, slightly worryingly, this company also won it. However, I have to say that there was a comment this morning about saying that the bits of Carillion business were probably fantastic, held down by other parts, and I don't suspect that this part of it was any worse than that, so I give them a hard time. So what can you do? Can you look at the ISO for customer service? Do you look at the government's customer service guidance? Or do you look at the Institute of Customer Service? Which one should we go for? Let's look for the government one. So they have definitely gone to the iStock catalogue and found the white gentleman with the glasses surrounded by some different ethnicity and women, so that it looks as possibly politically correct at the front of their brochure as possible. However, when you get into the meat and bones of it, this customer service engagement doesn't look as if it's going to be gripping reading. It doesn't look as if it's going to be the thing that's going to engage me into delivering customer service at a new level. However, it does go into a splash of colour on page 11, just to give you some engagement so you don't feel as if you're just reading the same page over and over. So I'm not going there, because that doesn't look like the stuff for me. Do I want to look at the Institute of Customer Service? They say staff doing what they say they will do. That sounds like customer service to me. I am not having a difficulty listening to that and thinking that's exactly right. Employee competence, attitudes and behaviour. Right? I am listening to people at the moment who are saying, Your people who are delivering the coal face of customer service are quite poorly paid in a lot of instances. So how do you engage them to deliver great customer service? You give them great jobs. You give them jobs that they turn up every day and go, I love my job. So when they are in their jobs that they love, they will doing what they say we will do, because they want to do the best. The UK Customer Satisfaction Index does have a really great published document on its website. I laud that you should have a look at that. There's some good statistics, not least of which is that some people will pay for additional services. And a bit like the film we saw this morning, there's a high percentage of people who will pay for better service as opposed to no frills. The no frills is the green line down below. If you go to the National Multifamily Housing Council, which is an American organisation, obviously in multifamily, they give you a whole load of statistics about what works, and again, this is available on their website, and I implore you to go and have a look at that. However, if you see at the bottom there are 5 stars, and the 5 stars are a bit of an Uber splash over, and the 5 stars are about the customer service, so how well are you doing, how badly are you doing. We have it in our own app, because we reckon that that's what we want to know, whether we're doing badly or good, so we don't have any compunction at all for when we've delivered something that people give us a score for it. We're gathering the data, but we're just not sharing it with you. So what do? Do you look at your social networks? Is social network the way to deliver customer service? I would suspect not. Because if you're on customer service and social network, there is nobody tweeting to you how great a job you've done, and there's nobody phoning customer service going, I just phoned you today because I want to tell you you're amazing. They start off with a flat face that goes, I am not really that happy. And then they go through a process of getting unhappier as the call goes on, because they're going through something like this, which is press button 4 if you're a customer who has slightly less happy than the customer before you press option 5, to the point where you go like that, I really just want a real person, please give me a real person to speak to. How many of us have gone, hash, 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 I just want to get to a real person, not option 4. People become advocates if you do not treat them well. If you do not deal with a customer service engagement, that's what they become. They will just shout about you, and they'll shout about on all the social channels. So you have to engage with them. So engaging with them is by engaging through social networks about what they like in the buildings, and then we're talking build to rent. These are all channels that different build to rent operators are using to say to them, we've got a barbecue on Tuesday, we're having an event on Thursday, that kind of thing. And customer service is literally the invisible man, right? You don't want things to happen until you need it. So as if by magic, you turn up and customer service is delivered to you when you want it. And customer service should be the fact that you glide in with absolutely aplomb and with no real worry about what you're doing, and underneath you're beavering away at 100 miles an hour. People don't want to see the beavering away part, they want to see the gliding, I'm dealing with your problems part. And an antithesis of this would be, if we're providing private dining, come to the private dining, eat your meal, have as much mess as you like, and at the end of it, we'll clean the dishes for you. Right? That's customer service. We give you the place, we give you the service, and at the end of it, we'll clear it up for you, and you will go away going, that was fantastic, what a great night. And all you did was spend company in the time of your friends. So what's the secret sauce? This, for me, is the secret sauce of how to get customer service properly delivered into build to rent, is that you build 4 good walls. Right? And you might laugh at that and go, 4 good, how are you going to give customer service in 4 good walls? If the 4 good walls are built properly, and they're in the right place, and they're of the right construction, you can do anything you want inside them. And the customer service is that if the customers tell you, we don't like what you're doing in these 4 walls, we'd like you to do something different. As long as the 4 walls are built well, you can do something different in it. So just make sure you build the 4 walls, because I cannot predict what customer service or what customers will want in build-to-rent properties in 10 years from now, because it's going to change. So it's a given that you're building them perfect apartments that they can live in with their feet up. They want to eat their cornflakes out of whatever bowl they want. That's what we're doing. And what we have to do as a business, delivering this into this market, is we have to wow them, right? And I don't mean wow, I mean wow them, really wow them. And by wowing them, you give them exactly what they want. They want to live in a community, they want a quiet enjoyment of the place that they live, they want to engage with the people round about them when they want to engage, and they want to go to their apartments and live quietly when they don't. And if you do all of that, the real people that we have in our business, and these are all real people doing real customer service things, actual people, one of them sitting over there, is that you get to know your customer, and you will change the customer service that you deliver to them as they desire it. And we're a customer service business. We just happen to do build to rent.
Thank you, Ian. So interesting that you were talking a lot about the services that are being delivered and the amenity that's being delivered in buildings at the moment. I'm not really sure if that came out of what customers actually want, or a few people going to the US and deciding that they saw cinema rooms and therefore that's what we should put over here. How did you engage with the customers to see what they wanted? And
Well, I didn't put cinema rooms in.
no?
No. Yes, we engaged by, reading and learning from our American colleagues for a sector that has got a particularly long experience and a lot of properties within the environment, and we picked the best of the things that the people told us they wanted, with lounge and gym being the kind of top one, outdoor spaces. I don't subscribe to cinema rooms, multimedia spaces with 4 walls that you can do lots of different things in, including gaming and other things. Yes. So yeah, that was we learned from others, and now we're learning from ourselves, and we're learning from the delivery that we're doing.
So you didn't actually ask the customers themselves before you put the stuff in?
I think what we assumed was that with a multifamily sector with over 100,000 or whatever it is, however many residences, that they kind of knew what they were doing, and that given that we didn't have any customers to ask, it would have been difficult to say, what do you want, because there weren't any.
There's 20% of people living in the PRS sector. There's customers
They're
there.
living in amenity dry, buy-to-let property that doesn't have any amenity in it whatsoever.
Fair enough. Russell, how did you engage with your customers at TP? What's the process that you use to engage with them there? What lessons have you learnt?
Oh, so many. I don't think we have time to go through them all. So much value has come out of our small amount of live product at the moment. So we started with 141 units, and just to be clear, they weren't designed to be built-to-rent products. They were initially for sale products, so we adapted along the way by converting two designed apartments into more communal lounge spaces. We filled those 141 apartments. Then the next phase, we had 120 apartments. And we decided with the main contractor that we wanted to keep the ground floor space as a show and core, and we would design it based on the information we've had, feedback from our customers so far. Also, you know the way the world's going in the WeWork environment and so on. So we took a lot of learnings from that side of work at home life, and our existing amenity space, and created something that's really, really gone down well in our next phase. We also send out surveys to our customers. So 2 weeks after move-in, everyone gets a survey, and the questions on that survey are really, really well thought out to try and get us the information we really, really need. It's important to help deliver the future of our products. And also, most importantly, is to focus on the customer and what they want, to hear what they have to say. But of course, that 2-week period after move-in is still the honeymoon period. So the next step is we've got volume, is to implement a midterm survey as well as a departure survey. So one of the questions, in answer to your question, on that survey is, what is it that you feel is missing from your experience in Wembley so far? What would you like to see in terms of space, in terms of activating amenity spaces and shops, bars, etc.? And it's really interesting, some of the feedback we're getting. And I extract all that information every month, and I send it to my MD and our CEO, and they actually make these things happen. So they communicate that to our retail teams, and they actually go out there and target what our customers are actually saying they want. So it's all very, very small at the moment, but as we grow, that feedback is going to be more and more valuable.
Does everyone fill out the surveys?
No, so we've got about 24-25% ratio. So in order to overcome that, we've now, as part of my operations teams, we have these apartment familiarizations, and it's a checklist that they organise with the customer. So not on the day of move-in, it has to be, a time that's suitable for the customer. So once they've got their stuff in the apartment, they don't want to be listening to you as well, showing you how to use this and that, because they forget most of it. So by doing it a few days afterwards, they get the most out of it. And there's a golden question in there, or a golden point that we like to make out. By the way, thank you for your time today, but we will be sending you a survey. Please, please, please take the time to complete it, because it's only going to help shape the future. One example, when we first started doing the surveys, one customer said, what would they like to see in the area? Box Park. Guess what? We've got Box Park coming.
So you're listening.
It wasn't just for that one customer, just
I'm sure there was some financial awards for that as well.
Well, and they don't actually know that. So that one person might be thinking, wow, these guys listen.
They're actually listening. Stephanie, you just launched Southampton.
We
first
did.
phase, and you've got another phase coming online soon. What have you learned, and what's going to change when you launch the next phase?
So actually, much like Russell was talking about engaging with the customers and hearing what they have for feedback, we were in a very unique position that we were going to be delivered in phases, and luckily the second phase actually is where all of our amenity space is. So we've had the opportunity to really engage with the residents and talk to them a little bit about what their vision is for the community, what things have worked very well, what things they think maybe that needs a little bit of tweaking around the edges. And while we walked into it thinking, all right, for the first phase, we're going to have this almost in every man property. What we've also determined is that in the second phase, we took that feedback and we did upgraded backsplashes and some other little finesses of the units themselves, as well as taking some of their ideas and incorporating those into the design of the actual common amenity space. And we do the surveys. We just actually completed our 6-month survey. And what was interesting for me was that when I first came here, the concept of doing community events was very surprising, and everybody's like, oh, I don't know how that's going to go over. People aren't very social. We can't do the hog roast on Wednesdays. I still remember that quote from some time ago. And number one was obviously location, for most important for the residents. Number two, they loved the on-site management and maintenance. Number three was actually community events. I was really pleasantly surprised by that. We were lucky enough to have over 40% of our residents respond, but I do think that part of it was letting them know ahead of time. We will be sending out surveys periodically so that we can get your feedback, because we definitely want to make sure that this is a community that you want to live in. Southampton's a very interesting beast because the community as a whole, including the local business districts, everybody has been so welcoming. They see it as a huge opportunity to retain people in that demographic and in that area. As they're coming out of universities, they want to have quality residents in the area. So it's phase 2. We are doing things, as I mentioned, the backsplashes. We've got a few other little tweaks that we've done. We've offered them some different services as far as things that we are starting up with our residents club, which has already been very successful, but other features that we're adding in. So, which of course I can't tell the secret sauce, but.
That's a shame. In terms of engagement, I mean, you mentioned, Ian, that you've got an app. And
Yeah, we do.
That's live and operating?
Yes, it is. So we've got 2,300 units that we're managing at the moment. The app is live.
Is that white labelled, or is it live when you search for it on App Store?
No, it's white labelled. It's a proprietary app that Liv designed and built. It sits on an API into the Yardi system. So our data mining goes in through the Yardi system, and we collect all of our data through that. And I want to make one very, very sort of clear point about data. You can ask people, and then a certain proportion of them will give you a response, and you can take that response, and then you can use that to shape what you're going to do in the future. I would say that a very valuable and a lesson that I've learned from the facilities management sector, of which I've been working in for over 25 years, and help desks are a very prevalent service within the AFM industry, is actually what they phone you to complain about that's more important. The things that go wrong and what you do to fix those is actual customer service. The rest of it is actually customer engagement. It's about servicing the customer to give them a quiet enjoyment of their facility. But customer service is actually responding to their complaints.
I think nobody likes to hear complaints, ever,
No.
do they?
Oh,
but
no, we do.
You do, but I was going to
Absolutely.
say, actually, the complaints is where you learn your lessons from.
Totally.
So how do you actually capture the complaints then? Because I'm assuming, yes, there's call centres, and I'm sure there's things on websites, and half the time who can be bothered to remember to quickly drop an email or something.
It doesn't.
But how does the front line actually capture those complaints? How do you feed that further up the chain?
So the proprietary app has a reporting capability, so you can report any kind of mishap or something that's not working. That then goes into the system. It has a control mechanism for how it's filtered into the service provider or whoever it is that needs to respond to that, whether they be on-site or off-site. There is then a recording mechanism that engages with that service provider for their arrival and completion. We correspond with the customer. If we have to access their facility, we can push a notification to them on the app that says, can we go in without you being there? And then once we've done that, we take a photograph of whatever it is that we've done and we post that back to them saying, we've done it. Can you now inspect that when you go back and record it? Now, I mean, that's a maintenance issue, but there will be multiple other things that we would record in the same way.
Surely, though, the people are the front line, your staff who are seeing everybody every day. I'd much prefer to, say to somebody, "Hey, my tap's leaking. Can you fix it?" They go through that. How do you guys deal with that?
TP. So we don't have an actual app, but we have a web-based sort of portal, which is obviously mobile device friendly. So we are really, really close with our residents, our customers. As I mentioned, familiarisation. So we know them all on first name terms. The challenge is continuing that on the scale. That's where training comes into it, where it's vital that we get the training right. And the culture of the company is loving our customers, making sure they leave that building every day happy. No one leaves unsatisfied. And so when we do the familiarisation, we've already got that contact. We give them a brochure to show who your team are, who your support team are. And as Ian was saying, there's different ways that they channel it through. They might walk past the office in the morning or walk past the concierge and say, I forgot to log it, but I've got an issue with this. And so they can report it to concierge, to one of us by email, or on the portal. And then there's a process we have in place to close down those issues 24/7 via the portal. But what's really surprising, and what's a great opportunity, is how delighted people are. I suppose this is really loud, is it? Because it's not too loud.
We can hear you.
The sad thing is the state of the market, the rental market nowadays is reflected in the way people respond to how we respond to them. So we respond very, very quickly. And they are like, wow, that was amazing. And we're getting some really good feedback on that. So you can't lose that human touch.
So Yardi is obviously more B2B than it is B2C at the moment. How are you developing that at the moment in terms of both helping your clients, but maybe making initiatives that we can start to look at in terms of how we integrate with our tenants and capture that data?
Yeah, so I think with Yardi we like to think we are quite an innovator with the technology stack that we offer to clients here and your clients. We like to kind of keep on trend. We get notified. So, we're building apps, we're building text messaging, all the methodologies that our clients are saying to us that it's really important to help deliver a customer service standard. We need to be able to respond in a timely manner, as effective as we can. So we need to give you the tools to do that. And I think we like to think we're leading the way in that from a build to rent perspective, and helping to kind of share the element of customer service, but using the right tools to do that. If that is our tools, or if not, we are welcoming talking to people who also have other tools that would do that we would integrate with. So again, there is a program that we have in the US, really recognised program from a Yardi perspective, called a SIP program, where we have a lot of about 120, 30 different providers that we're working with to really enhance the features and the technology that we have already, and we want to bring that. We are bringing that to the UK, and we're starting to talk to different vendors and suppliers regarding that. So we want to still be the leading edge on it all, but really help you guys manage your customer service to your customers, but also the operators. So you're not just providing apps and portals for the kind of the customers themselves, but also the operators on site. So actually being able to give them tools, workflow assistance, so that their roles can be in a more automated, efficient way, so they can spend more time with that, as you say, that human interaction that we can't take away from build to rent. So it's really just listening to people that are guiding us the last few years, and obviously benefiting from being quite a residential focused system in the US as well.
Can I pick up on Russell's point? So people's expectations of renting is that they phone the agent and they tell the agent there's a problem. The agent then phones the owner, and they get the owner when they get the owner, whether or not they're in the country or out the country. And then they wait a period of time until they get some kind of response from the owner to say, yes, you can spend that money. Then they go and phone the contractor, and the contractor says, well, we're there on Tuesday. The contractor goes on Tuesday but doesn't tell you. And then you don't know whether it's been fixed or not until the tenant phones you back up and says it's Wednesday and the contractor hasn't been. Right? So what the electronic devices that we use do is eliminate all of that. We eliminate all of the uncertainty of whether or not something's been done. And when Russell refers to somebody being absolutely delighted, that is exactly what they are. They go, I have just had a push notification in my app to tell me that my socket that wasn't working this morning has been fixed. I'm delighted. here's my 5-star return of customer service. Now, that can happen, physically with a person. You can go and speak to a person and they'll do it, but it will all end up in the electronic system because we want to record the data and control the management of it. So, we're going from a really low base.
Yeah.
We're going from a crap service and a crap buy-to-let world into 5-star service. To a certain extent, we could almost aim for here and people would be really happy, but we're not. We're all businesses that are aiming for there.
If I can pick up on that as well, I think engagement, when you have the technology to back it up and people can communicate through various methods, whether that's in person, they're stopping by, they're picking up a package and you're asking them, how was your day? Is there anything that we can do for you? To getting just a notification that, Fred, the maintenance guy, has been in your apartment and your light bulb's now changed. There's a power to that where then the communication, when it is in person, becomes much more fluid and it's more trusting, and they're more willing to open up to you and say, hey, I'm a little concerned about this. And sometimes people are still afraid to do that, so that's where the anonymous survey does come in handy. Although 9 times out of 10, you can usually figure out who the person is, especially if they're coming to you with complaints. So one of the big differences that, of course, I've experienced since being here is that in the States, we have multiple sites. The biggest one's called apartmentratings.com. When it first came out in the States, everybody was terrified of it, and nobody wanted to respond to it. They wanted to hide it and shuffle it underneath the sand. And of course, every person that was looking at your property, it would pop up at the top of Google, and they'd say, well, this resident said this. So we very quickly adopted that somebody coming to us and challenging us is an opportunity for us to do better and to identify and say, well, we need to find a better route, and how can we make that work for the residents? Because if they're giving you that opportunity, they've not given up on you. And that's something that's really important to remember, and because apartment ratings and something like it will be here. Let's face it, it was mentioned earlier about Glassdoor. Well, same type of concept. And having those different avenues, you need to turn that negative into the positive of, sometimes it's okay to say no. Sometimes it's okay to say, I can't do that, but let's come up with a reasonable conclusion for both sides.
I think it's about the engagement, isn't it?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
In terms of talking about engaging with your customers, core values is probably something that's key to all of us. What are 3 core values of TP?
So we've developed an acronym for TP. And there's a meaning behind each of these words: is trust, integrity, people, innovation. And I took that from hotels, Hilton, Hilton, what that means for. But it's drilling that into the team, your colleagues, really driving those values from the top down has a benefit. It really, really does. And as long as it's easy to remember and it just stays there all the time, you don't want a really long, convoluted set of core values. Just simple, to the point, and meaningful. And the ultimate result is that the team members themselves, get the opportunity to take risks, and have some empowerment guidelines. And we encourage our teams to challenge the norm, take risks, don't be afraid of making mistakes. And that gives them so much clout to make decisions on the spot, with the ultimate goal of making sure that customer's happy. That's it.
We talked about, in Ian's presentation, you talked about how customer service can drive a premium in some instances, but there's always a limit to the premium, and I think we're all quite clear now as we're getting through the development of Build to Rent that it's not just about a premium product, but about a mid-range product and something that's affordable for your target market. Not affordable housing, but that people can actually afford to pay their rent. In terms of how do you identify what that limit is? How do you, for the long term, rather than focusing on let's push the rents for 15%, we've done our job, see you later?
So where the limit is when you sit in front of the redback valuer and he says no, which is pretty much it. There's a real kind of dark art secret sauce going on at the moment about premiums, where some people will tell you, yeah, we're getting 15% premium across the board, and other people will tell you we're doing really cautious market rent, maybe the upper quartile we're taking the springboard from. But you heard it in the film this morning, people are saying, well, if I get a gym, I don't have to pay a gym membership. If I get super fast broadband, I don't need to pay super fast broadband. These are all quantifiable costs. I have an electric car downstairs, I can take that whenever I want. I've got a bike rack, I've got my parcels, I've got my concierge, ITV, Sky TV, voice over internet telephony, I've got an app that when somebody comes to the door, I can see who they are, and I'm in my office and it's the parcel guy, give it to the concierge. All these things have got some value. You can't say every one of them's got a pound pence value, but you can put a value on some of them. So you have to take what is, you know, a crap buy-to-let market with no service and go to the upper quartile of your best in class at that sort of market, and then take a springboard of the value-add services that you can quantify and arrive at a rental premium, which is something circa 10% or thereabouts, and start that off as your kind of kick-off. We're at rehearsal rooms, we're above that. We're above that because we let it up at that sort of starting asking price, and the demand went through the roof, and therefore you dynamically price and your rent premiums settle in their own. You know, you shake the sand until it all settles. And that'll be the case across the market. You know, I don't think anywhere we will hit the bullseye every single time by the predicted projecting rents, given that they're 3 years down the track from something that isn't built in a theoretical market that doesn't exist.
Well, surely there's a glass ceiling, I think, as well. I mean, people's wages aren't going up, you know, household debt's starting to increase. So, you know, and these will be things which we continue to come along as we peak and trough through the cycle. So I think, you know, that assumption that premiums can always come forward as a better product comes.
I mean, the absolute, the glass ceiling has got to be a net income percentage that people are prepared to spend. You know, in London, that's high, really high, 45%, something like that. In the regions, it's probably down about 30%. You can do an affordability calculation. It's pretty simple. It's an Experian 2.5 times your rent time equals your annual income. You know, so these are calculable amounts. You can apply them to every unit type and make sure that there are enough people in the demographic profiling to meet that.
We heard from one of the councillors last night from Barking who was saying the average take-home wage is £29,000. So, I mean, looking at premium rents at that range and actually being able to offer the customer service level that we all strive to, how do you do that in a lower rank? I mean, Southampton's rents must be on a similar basis with a similar affordability ratio.
We did look at affordability very closely, and of course we've got 1 and 2 bedrooms very heavily stacked to the 2-bedroom side, and we did look at obviously the median income levels, and we do have a range of apartments within the community to suit different levels of affordability naturally. I think it's probably more difficult in a place where the land premiums are obviously so high. So for instance in London, you know, we're trying to build different tenures of property and offer different price brackets as far as the rent codes. But the problem with that is, for instance, I've gotten into a debate recently about 3 bedrooms, 4 bedrooms. And I always find it a very interesting conversation to have because, of course, an investor says, oh, I want top rents. It has to be top rent. But who are you building a 3 and a 4 bedroom for? You're building that for typically a family. Well, typically a family has 2 incomes. When you're looking at it as, oh, well, it's got to be sharers because they have to afford 4 different incomes in the apartment. Well, now you're ostracizing a complete demographic that in the long run would be incredibly loyal and stay with you long term. Let's face it, if a parent has their child in school in the neighborhood, they're not going to move as fast as 4 millennial sharers who are like, oh, there's a new place that's open down the road. I want to go down there because it's newer, it's flashier. I don't know, maybe they have the fit for life in the gym that the other property didn't have. So I think that in some ways people are missing the boat as far as always focusing just on premiums. And I think that there needs to be some thought to the longevity of the product and also the longevity of the resident, because once you add in vacancy rates, turn rates, all of that incorporate into your NOI, then sometimes it makes more sense to make the apartment a little bit more affordable for those people that will stay there for a very long time.
I'm going to ask some questions of the audience in a second, but Faye, I mean, what role do you think businesses like Airbnb and Booking.com and you know, those new, I don't want to call them fads because they're not, they've been around for a while now, but you know, what role are they going to play in the sector, do you think, going forward?
I do think there's a place for them. I mean, we historically have worked with the Rightmove and the Zooplas on corporate sites, but obviously as demographics tend to go to a different you know, source, B&B is a great one, Booking.com I think we've all used at some point. Yeah, I think there's, you know, I don't see, it's just it's interaction between client's availability and you know, where are most people going to? Where's the focus of people looking at? So I think there is an opportunity there. From our perspective, from a technology perspective, as we said, you know, we've got a routine that we're working on, and we're very open to kind of talk to different providers. So we would be, you know, very open to talk to an Airbnb or a Bookings.com if that's what they felt they wanted to, you know, work more in the build to rent rather than just kind of, you know, advertising someone's home that they're offering for kind of, you know, a few weeks while they're away on a summer holiday, something like that.
Have you used it at TP at all, Russell? Would you use it? To
Well,
help
we
with voice?
trialled one apartment for a good few months. You know, our stage of our development at the moment, right now, we soon worked out that it was too much sort of operational demand for the return. So we've parked it for now.
Do you think more of the service offering in terms of changing the sheets and that sort of thing?
Yeah, it was a full-on
Yeah.
Airbnb turnaround. Yeah, so it wasn't
It's
it's not for now.
Quite modern.
I want to turn that question around because you focus on Rightmove and Zoopla and portals and all the rest of it, and my listing next to another listing of a buy-to-let landlord is at the moment indistinguishable. I can't tell. If I do a nice photograph and a nice description, I can't tell if it's buy-to-let or not, and that's the truth. Rehearsal rooms, you know, any other properties that we've got. So do I, as a build-to-rent management company, want some kind of ratings that tells people that we are fantastic? Bring it on.
Yeah.
Give me 5 stars every day of the week, because I will do exactly what I'm saying I'm going to do, is I will react like that, and I will fix everything that goes wrong, and you will be delighted, and you will give me 5 stars. If you go into Google today and search for rehearsal rooms North Acton,
5 stars.
Google's has got 5 stars.
Yeah, I looked at it last night, and TP to be fair to you both. So,
Yeah.
but
And
it's not a sales pitch for you guys. So,
Well, and I'm not controlling that number. And then in fact, if you talk about what people trust, as long as I don't control that number, they will trust it. If I tell them I'm a 5-star, it's all about reasons to believe. I can tell you I am the best consultant on the planet, and you would go, yeah, right. But if he tells you I'm the best consultant on the planet, then you might listen.
yeah.
And even
But
if there's
no.
But even if you only get 1 star, so one of the things that I found in my past is that maybe I did get 1 star. For instance, I had a property that was undergoing a lot of construction, and there were delays, unfortunately, because there was snow. It happens, you know, we were in Colorado. And I had a couple residents who went on, and they had posted 1 and 2 stars. You know, everybody freaked out. I said, wait a minute. Okay, if we go on and we respond to those and we say, we're really sorry you felt that way, and we knew who it was, but obviously you kind of say, well, we'd like to talk to you a little bit more about it, get some more feedback. However, these are the measures that we're taking to fix that because we hear you. That is equally as important as
You're responding
person
to the world, aren't you?
Right,
Yeah.
and you're showing that you are accountable. You're taking that responsibility and saying that, yes, we might have the property, we might run it, but this is your property, and we respect that. You know, we were talking about core values earlier, and I know one of my personal core values has always been, I never cared if somebody was paying $300 a month or $3,000. We were discussing this last night. This is their home, this is their family, this is their money. For them, for our residents, for our customers, you can't get any more personal than that.
It's emotional.
Yeah, and meanwhile, it might be business for us, but we still have to have that respect, and we still need to balance that professionalism with that personal touch.
Is there any questions at all from anyone in the audience? Or we all just, yes.
Stephanie, you mentioned your Southampton scheme.
Yes.
And that it was a phased delivery.
Sorry, just wait for the microphone, just coming down.
You mentioned it was a phased delivery.
Yes.
Did you incentivise the first phase of tenants that moved into that scheme?
No, actually, we didn't. Very pleasantly surprised to hear that a lot of the residents, once they understood what we were trying to achieve there, and also they did, you know, we explained to them that this was also an opportunity for them to shape their community, they didn't feel as though they needed that incentive. I did have one person who came back recently and said, well, I really want that extra parking now, because of course parking is an issue everywhere. And, you know, but he also understood when he leased that, you know, it is something that's going to be delivered this summer. But again, I took that as an opportunity, and I called him personally because he had escalated it past the property manager. Even though the property manager handled it completely professionally, it happens. And After we hung up the phone, he felt better about it. He still wasn't thrilled he didn't have a parking space, but he also knows that he is on that wait list. And I confirmed that he's the third person on that wait list. So as soon as we have that, it's going to be his spot. So it comes back to that communication and just managing their expectations.
Yeah, hi, Andrew Stanford at LaSalle. And not surprisingly, we take customer service extremely seriously. But a question for the panel is, do you as yet have evidence of an intensive sort of customer service experience enhancing return?
Ian, you're probably the best place for that. You're managing a lot of units.
The absolute answer to that would be no, because I'd be lying if we said, yeah, we can point to the fact that we've got higher retention and lower voids and quicker turnarounds. The fact of the matter is that we haven't been open long enough to turn that many units over. So in reality, we don't know yet. I mean, if we get down the track and as we're doing entry and exit surveys, which we will do, and get an understanding of what people liked or disliked or stayed or didn't stay, then yeah, that data will become available. And I mean, we talked about data briefly in the previous panel and the last panel. I mean, this sector is probably going to be the custodians of some of the largest amounts of data on personal choice in the marketplace in the future. I mean, Uber already sell Uber data on traffic back to London City about how quickly their roads move. And that's all they're doing is collecting how fast their cars went from A to B. We're going to be in a similar situation. So we can't ignore the fact that we are collecting a lot of data, and we need to respond to that data as soon as we've got it. But we also can't sit here and go, yeah, I've got tons of data, and yes, we get premiums, and yes, we've got a higher percentage of rental premiums and lower percentage of voice, because that data in the UK simply doesn't exist. You go to the States, YieldStar will sell you that every single day of the week.
Mm-hmm. And there are several different ones in the States, but there's also a lot more transparency. So in most markets, they have an economic conference every quarter, and they tell you this is where things are, this is where they're going. Some of it is guessing, and you never know what's going to happen 2 months after that projection came up. But also, one of the things too that we can take small measures about, things like resident referrals. I mean, having only been open since kind of the end of October, we already have 6 resident referrals who've moved in. So to us, that is something that we can mark and say, that is essentially a return on investment to a degree, because now we don't have to worry as much about some of the different marketing, where a lot of our residents are doing our marketing for us. And then taking a look at what some of the different costs would be and what we've put into the property. So there are some small bits that we can take, our small triumphs, I like to call them, where you can measure those and you can build off of that.
I think as Ian said as well, like in the US, the demographic data out there, there's a massive amount of it, and it's collected and it's utilised. And we're certainly learning from that, from our origins in the US, and we're very keen to kind of, once there is that volume of data, as you say, here, to kind of initialise technology, to utilise technology already in the US and really help people like yourselves and your clients and your customers to then manage and understand and appreciate that data.
Surely
so it's
we must be
something
able to use that to make everybody accountable too, because everybody sells the dream. Best in class in customer service in build to rent doesn't exist really at the moment. We're all trying and we're all forging forward, but as an investor, it would be great to be able to say to my property manager or something, say, these are the KPIs that you're managing against, and customer satisfaction is one of those.
Yeah, well, we have a Net Promoter Score as our measure, like I referred to earlier, and something I would like to see implemented is the same platform used across all of us. So it's a nice bit of friendly, open competition.
Brings the transparency to the sector.
Yeah, it really does.
Any other questions?
But it also sets us apart from the sector that we're saying is what we're coming from is better.
Yeah.
The reason why the buy-to-let landlords, which make up 98% of the UK, haven't all signed up to some kind of standard is because probably about 30% of them are completely scared of it. So if the 2% of the build-to-rent market signs up to standards and scoring, and then we're just going to set ourselves apart. I'm all for it. Give me it every day.
I think it's about
I
feeding
agree.
it back down from the customers as well, as I was saying before. It's about a bottom-up approach as well as top-down. So giving customers the tools to be able to know that whether they're with a buy-to-let landlord or they're with one of us, that actually there is this system that is listening that that people can track on.
And it starts at the very top of every organisation. We're lucky our CEO and my MD, they believe it. They see it. They know the staff by name. All those little things. I had a new starter the other day, and our CEO walked in and he introduced us. Oh, you started the other day, Faisal, right? And he knew him. And that's really important. That makes a difference to the staff, the team, and that rolls out to the customer. It's about the people and the customer.
There's a couple more questions down here. The gentleman at the front and another at the back. All right, great.
Sorry, it's actually just a bit of a follow-up on that one.
What was your name, sorry?
It's Alex Watts from Kingsford Group. And it's about the, following on from the last sort of question, because there's a sort of stat that's put around about, gross to net of 25% seeming to be acceptable in the UK at the moment. And I think
We've all killed that myth, haven't we?
Well, what's interesting about that is that if you look at sort of traditional letting agency or traditional property managed stock in the build-to-rent sector or buy-to-let sector, it's probably that or less. So in order to really say, okay, this is better in build-to-rent, there has to be a justification for a premium from the services that are offered. And I think this is what the question was coming. If you to be selling an operator service that delivers better customer tenant service, there needs to be sort of demonstration of a premium rent in that. And I think that's going to be sort of critical. It's okay to have 25% gross to net if your gross is 15-20% above a normal build-to-rent. So it's just trying to come back and see what the experience is from the operating side about achieving that premium, and what you think if the valuers are putting 25% gross to net on, what do you think the actual operating model is actually in reality achieving in a premium and achieving in operation costs?
So my next Mythbuster is going to have to be kill 25% net to gross and kill that word premium. I know I used it before, but Ian?
Alex is a professional question asker, it has to be said, and everywhere I go he's a question asker. 25% is an absolute myth. I mean, but it may be accurate somewhere. Goodness knows what geography or which
I had one
place.
come in the other day where it was 26%, and I almost cheered.
I've had ones at 28.5, it's a simple correlation. There is a cost to run a building. That's a physical cost. You can't clean a carpet any cheaper. If it's the same carpet here and there, there's just a physical cost for doing that maintenance.
The light bulbs all cost the same.
Absolutely, there's loads of stuff. The cost of people to clean that carpet, that's a different story. They cost more in London and they cost less in Newcastle. There are a correlation of costs that just have to be graphic equalised versus the rent, right? So I want to kill nothing on that. The gross to net stuff I don't want to kill. What I want to kill is the term premium, right? The premium, this is not a premium. This is the standard of service, customer service, that people should just expect.
Yeah.
Right? But everything else is just below standard. And we are living in a world which is below standard. So we are saying we are creating a new standard. Now you call it premium. I don't call it premium. I just call it the standard.
Yeah, I think that's a good way to pitch it. I mean, in the retail market and the like, it's all about customer service.
Yeah.
You don't get charged a premium for going to New Look versus going to another brand around the corner. It's all about actually the customer service, the product that you're buying, and the interim and your price point.
Yeah.
There was another question here at the front.
Yes, hi. My name is Ellie from Silverstream Finance. I was wondering, especially in higher value areas, Greater London or within the M25, there is a tough balance between, getting income from rental units and kind of trading off with communal space. And I was just wondering whether maybe to have a hat on for kind of smaller developments in terms of 50, 60, 70 units, if there was consensus in terms of what the top 3 kind of community spaces might be, and if it needs to be, a certain relativity or percentage in terms of the building, in terms of private letting rooms and so on.
I mean, my view is that there's not a magic formula, that it comes back to asking your target market what they want. I don't know, anybody else's?
I'd have said that 60 units is just, you're trying to afford too much from not enough rent. You know, the secret there is that there does actually need to be a physical amount of rent comes in the door to afford to look after space. I'm saying it's probably around about the 110, 120 mark. Anything below that, you're trying to squeeze too much service out of not enough rent, which will definitely just push the rents up.
Well, and a lot of times the amenity is the customer service in that size property. So
exactly
one of the
right.
things that I really actually appreciate about Red Door, for instance, I don't know if Kent is in here, I think it might be in one of the other rooms. What they've done is they have a series of smaller properties and then they're looking at building larger properties. So the smaller properties, they're partnering up with local businesses that can provide the services. So the local gym, maybe it's an eatery down the way, whatever the case may be. And they're then building that value for the residents where it's not infringing on the value of the property. And I have seen some where it's a smaller property and maybe they did have a fitness center, but realistically, it didn't get used that much because it wasn't as nice as, in the States, the 24-hour fitness that was down the way. But there were people who did use it as maybe a yoga room or something like that. But like you said, you have to be very smart about it because if you only have that many units, then you do want to have that value back. And that's where you can do things like the residence clubs and work with the local businesses.
So if you pick 4 walls, right, so back to my 4 walls, those 4 walls don't have to house the same thing every time of day, right? So in the morning, they can be the breakfast club. At morning, between morning and lunch, they can be the WeWork space. At lunchtime, they can be a cafe. Afternoon, they can be another space. In early evening, they can be a yoga. And later than that, it can be a multimedia room. It's just 4 walls. What you want is the maximum productivity for the amount of space that you've got. And if you haven't got enough space because you've got a small number of units, you have to get your productivity up.
Agreed.
So I'm going to move towards wrapping it up, but bearing in mind that Build to Rent's still in its infancy, I think I'll just ask each of the panel members, what's the one biggest lesson that you've learned and that you'll be changing for the year ahead? Ian?
Don't think you know it all.
Okay.
Technology is not standing still.
It's all about the people for me, and not necessarily recruiting from within the sector. We've got evidence where our best staff are from non-property backgrounds.
In fact, I would say the people that you do recruit are from a service background and not
Totally.
property. You can train them about the 4 walls, you can't train them about the customer
We
service.
employ for hearts and minds. That's where we really, really focus on, and we can train the details.
Stephanie?
I agree with him completely, but since he already said it, I'll say one of the things that I'd like to really work on is working more closely with some of the developers and architects to actually have them understand that this isn't a property you're walking away from after you hand it over, and we're building something that people will be living in, and it's going to be a huge part of their lives, and we need to build that to last.
Lifecycle.
Great. Thank you very much, everybody, for your time. Great debate, and thank you all for coming.
Okay.
Thank you very much.